He wonders if it was just a dream, but the manager of the Hunters Association's surveillance team, Kang Tai-shik, enters his room. Kang Tai-shik explains that he has been unconscious for the last 3 days, and he wonders what happened to Ju-hee and Song Chi-yul. Kang reveals that they survived, but Song Chi-yul lost his arm, so he may be forced to retire as a hunter, and Ju-hee is suffering from trauma, so she needs psychiatric care before she can join another raid. He reveals that the White Tiger Guild rushed to the dungeon because they were warned by the survivors, but they never saw the statues, and Jin Woo was found lying on the ground. Everyone finds this strange, but they believe that the survivors are telling the truth because the remains of the other hunters were found at the scene. Kang Tai-shik thinks that an E-rank hunter could never survive the incident, so he believes that Jin Woo unlocked a new level of power through a second awakening. He takes out a gadget, explaining that it will measure Jin Woo's magic, and he becomes excited, thinking he has become stronger. But as he touches it, we see that his score is 10, which is considered very bad because even the weakest hunters get a score of 70. So Kang Tai-shik explains that they were wrong, and they leave the room, thinking he is as weak as a civilian. Jin Woo is disappointed with the result, but he wonders why they didn't ask him about the screen because he can see it floating in his room. He wonders if he is the only one who can see it. And at that moment, his sister, Jin Ah, arrives, revealing that she was worried about him. She tells him that she will quit school and find a job so he can stop being a hunter because he always ends up in the hospital. He apologizes for making her worry, and he asks her about the screen, but she becomes confused because she can't see it. He asks her how she checks her messages in a video game, and she tells him that she just has to open the message box. So he mentions the message box, and the system recognizes his command, informing him that he has a daily quest. He thinks about how he has become a player, and Gina decides to let him rest as he reads his notification, realizing that the system is designed to help him, but he will receive a penalty if he fails to obey it. He accepts the daily quest, and the system gives him a simple workout routine, warning him that he will receive a penalty if he fails. But Jin Woo thinks it's impossible to complete it because he is still in the hospital, so he decides to take a nap. Meanwhile, Jin Chul reports to Go Gun-hee, informing him that Jin Woo did not have a second awakening. Go Gun-hee mentions that the case is full of mysteries, thinking there is still a lot they need to learn about dungeons, so they decide to label it as a special case, which will require further evaluation. Choi orders Hai-in to be an instructor in a B-rank raid, saying it will be practical training for the new recruits. She thinks she isn't suited for the role, but he tells her that she just has to fight, and everyone will learn from her example. Choi reveals that the Hunters Guild is one of the biggest in the country, but they are nothing compared to the best guilds in the world. He knows that a hunter's rank can't be changed, but he thinks they can improve by training their combat abilities. Jin Woo is sleeping in his bed, but the timer for the quest ends, and the system informs him that he has failed his quest, so the ground starts shaking, waking him up, and he finds himself in the middle of a desert, wondering if he is dreaming, but he encounters a giant centipede as the system tells him to survive for 4 hours. So he panics, and he starts running as the monster chases him, but more centipedes appear, and he ends up exhausted. He is about to be eaten, but the timer ends, so he returns to the hospital as the system informs him that he has completed the penalty quest, but he ends up fainting, and the nurses enter his room, wondering what happened to him. We switch to Ju-hee as she is invited to join a D-rank raid, but she refuses because she is still recovering. She finds out that Jin Woo is in the hospital, so she decides to visit him, but she hears the nurses complaining about his behavior, thinking he is crazy because he just recovered, but he never stops training. Jin Woo rests, and we learn that every time he completes a daily quest, his body fully recovers, and he gets ability points, which he can use to improve his stats. We learn that he has an inventory screen, and he can learn skills, but he thinks the situation is strange because he feels like he is in a video game. He returns to his room where he reveals that he gets a random loot box when he completes a daily quest. He opens it, causing a key to appear as the system mentions that he can use it to access an instant dungeon at a subway station. He becomes confused because he doesn't know what an instant dungeon is, but he thinks the key will lead him to an event that can help him become stronger. Jin Woo visits his mother in the hospital, and in a flashback from 4 years ago, his mother suddenly fainted, so they took her to the doctor. He explains that she suffers from a rare condition known as eternal slumber disease, which appeared when the gates emerged. It is caused by constant exposure to mana, but it is incurable, so they decide to put her on life support. Jin Woo needs money to make ends meet, so he starts working at a construction site, But he suddenly awakens his powers and he becomes eligible to work as a hunter. He becomes excited, knowing his life will change. But he realizes that he is so weak that he can't even defeat a goblin, and the other hunters look down on him, seeing him as a burden. Back in the present, Jin Woo continues his training and he improves his strength. He heads to the subway station and he takes out the key, using it to open the instant dungeon. He decides to enter it, thinking he can run if it's too dangerous. But the exit suddenly closes as the system informs him that the only way to escape the dungeon is by defeating the boss or using a teleportation stone. But he realizes he is in trouble because he isn't sure if he can survive alone. Jin Woo decides to explore the dungeon and 3 goblins suddenly appear. He struggles to keep up with their movements and he falls to the ground as a goblin tries to stab him, but he dodges and he launches a counterattack, killing the goblin in 1 hit. The others keep attacking him, but he easily defeats them as he notes that he has become stronger. But a wolf suddenly appears and it attacks him, destroying his knife. He realizes that it is stronger than the goblins, and his legs start to tremble as he realizes that he is scared. The wolf attacks and manages to scratch him as he notes that he has no healer, so he will die if he suffers a fatal injury. He avoids the wolf's attacks as he notices that his body feels lighter than usual, and he manages to overcome his fear. He punches with all his might, knocking the wolf down, and he realizes that he can hurt it because he focused on improving his strength. But the wolf recovers and it pounces on him, so he tries to stop it with his fist, but he realizes his attacks are working, so he starts running, thinking he has no chance because he has no weapon. But at that moment, he remembers that he saw something in his inventory, so he opens it and he takes out a magic sword as the wolf pounces on him, but he attacks it, splitting it in half. He wonders why he had that sword in his inventory because he knows it belonged to Kim and it was too expensive for him to buy. But he decides not to think about it and he notes that his wound has healed. But 2 more wolves appear as he realizes that his sword is stuck in the ground. So Jin Woo starts to panic, but as the wolves approach, he manages to lift it and he swings it. But a wolf is able to catch it, so he kicks it, causing its grip to weaken, and he beheads it. Seeing this, the other wolf decides to retreat, and as he rests, he realizes that he has reached level 2. He notes that he never leveled up by completing quests, so he realizes that actual combat allows him to gain experience. He notices that all his stats have increased, thinking it is more efficient to get stronger by leveling up because he gains 5 points with every level, while the daily quests only give him 3 points. But Jin Woo realizes that he has only defeated 5 monsters, thinking he shouldn't get carried away, and he checks the magic gem but finds an item instead. The system tells him that he found a shop, and he tries to buy something, but he realizes that he can't because his level is too low. He decides to sell the item, allowing him to get 20 gold, but he wonders how much it is worth in cash, thinking it's not much because he seems to be in an E-rank dungeon.